Good evening, everyone. There are actually a few seats open in the front if anyone wants to come in here. Welcome to the May 20th regular business board meeting, and I think we have this big crowd, not for our all of our contracts and stuff we'll be approving tonight, but I think this is for our 25-year honoree recognition, so I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Copeland so we can begin that.
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. Members of the board and public may know that this year, Amy Buckman, Director of Community Relations, worked with our students to really put together a student-led conference at both Harrington and Lower Merion High School. One of the participants of that, Lmsb is here tonight because she enjoyed the conference, learned a lot from it, and has some recommendations which she put together as part of her senior project. But Lmsb, the floor is yours.
How do I make it up there?
I'll be right there. Okay, and then just remember to use your arrow keys. Over here. Okay.
Hi, my name's Lmsb Sayer, and I have, for my senior project, I go to Harrington High School, and for my senior project, I decided I wanted to learn about how to make sort of social justice kind of events, because that's something I've been interested in for a really long time, and I thought of something that would be really beneficial for the middle school students in our district. And also, I've been the president of our schools, one of the presidents of our school's GSA for the past 3 years, and also I've been a part of our SAGE Club, Students Advocating for Gender Equality, who helped create the Woke Conference this year, and I really just wanted to tell you guys about some ideas I had for something further in the future that you could plan, that students could plan. All right, so the name that I thought of was Genius, because it would, if you'd put little acronyms to it, it would be be about growing, encouragement, nurturing the students, inspiring them, helping them understand each other, and supporting them. And the goal of being a genius would be to combat bullying, students with self-esteem issues, as well as the just misunderstanding of people with differences, because when you're growing up, it's just so hard to understand people that are different than you, especially in the time of middle school when everybody's just trying to figure themselves out and they're trying to fit in with each other. And I think what I've came up with would really help people. So here's just 2 quotes of people, what they responded with after the Woke Conference this year, about things that they liked about it, and why they thought that it was something that was really worth their while. Just about how they really had their eyes open to everything that we were teaching them about all of these social justice issues, understanding people different than themselves, even if they were in those communities themselves. So the mission statement I thought of would be to be a genius, someone who stands up for themselves, others, and respects others' differences. And really, what this would be about is just people understanding how who they are is just so wonderful, and that they don't need to be like everybody else, what they think that they should be. It's just that if you learn to love yourself, it's easier to love others. And it's really true. It's what I've seen throughout my years of being alive. And when people are true to who they are, they really flourish, and they're really a lot happier. And so are their peers. So why do we need this conference? So as I said before, middle school is a time where everybody's trying to figure out who they are and why everyone else isn't like them. So if we're able to open them to the ideas of diversity and difference, then they're able to understand that who you are and who other people are is a-okay. And I also think that this would help decrease bullying because, and I've been doing research on this for the past 2 weeks, and I'd like to show you some of that. And with bullying, it seems to be that, you know, when people are able to understand people different than themselves, then they're able to just be themselves more and treat others with respect. As it says up here, school-based bullying prevention programs decrease bullying by up to 25%. And I mean, I was in middle school a short 4 years ago, and you know, it's a hard time for everyone. And I think the more people are knowledgeable about just everything going on with themselves and others, it would really help. Also, a little more of the effects of bullying and why this is so important that we would need something like this. And I realized that the board isn't exactly supposed to vote on this or do something like that, but I think if it were to happen, that you'd be really happy to know like exactly what would be going on, and just know that what the students would be learning about and how it would really help them. So the general issues that the conference would cover would be empowerment and confidence just in themselves, low self-esteem, practicing kindness. That's something I do every day. I try to be the best person I can and always give love to others as much as possible, and how to support others, because through misunderstanding, if people are struggling, sometimes you don't see it right away, and I feel like it's so important to see the signs of when like your peers struggling. Also open-mindedness, so you're able to, you know, understand there's different than you, as I said before, and respect differences and diversity, so important. And stand up, how do you stand up for yourself and others when things are going wrong in your life or with your peers. So what students will take away from this conference, they'll learn more about how to just be themselves and how that is so okay and so great, and the power to stand up for others, which is something, you know, you try to ingrain in people's brains that, you know, you can stand up for yourself and you can be the person you want to be, but it's really hard. And here. Just a quick review of some other things. What is this conference for? It would be for the Welsh Valley and Bala Cynwyd students, and what will they learn? How to empower themselves and to promote advocacy in their community about intersecting social justice issues, as well as attack bullying, and where would it be held? At either one of the schools. Why is so important? Because it would help students through one of the most hard times in their lives, one of the most hard transitions. When will it happen? Whatever. And how would it happen? I think it would be best if a stage club were to be created at both of the middle schools. So students in the club could also team up with a stage student in the high schools, and they could work together to lead workshops and things, because people really don't like listening to adults. Very sorry, but something that we saw through the WOTE conference was that people really like listening to their peers, and if students were to work together to create workshops and things for people to learn from, and pretty much learn from and work on throughout their lives, I think that would be really awesome. And that is all. If you have any questions, you can contact me by either of these wonderful emails. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, she's leaving. I just want to say thank you, Lindsay, for doing this senior project and taking the time to present it to us. And I think it dovetails really nicely with our strategic plan and the focus on student-driven schools and redefining success. So I think it's a wonderful idea. And the board does not vote on these kinds of issues, but I'm sure everybody would join me in encouraging the administration to seriously look into the idea of this. So thank you very much, and congratulations on graduating. So.
Thank you, Lindsay, and have fun in Ithaca. It doesn't snow there at all. This is an evening where we come together to welcome and to celebrate folks who have given 25 years to the Lower Merion School District. Before I begin that part of the presentation, I'd like to say a word about somebody who is not going to get an award tonight, because she's only been here 23 years. That's Ann Heffron, principal of Merion Elementary School. In a column in the Inquirer 5 years ago, a former Merion Elementary School dad, who's chair of the Education Department at University of Arkansas, cited Ann Heffron as an example of a great school leader. He wrote, "She knows every kid in the building. Great teachers want to teach for Heffron, so over time, she built a staff like her, one seeking to build trust with every parent in a low-key, often humorous way." He added, "It takes a lot of work to satisfy some parents, but she meets the challenge." Ann's been an educator for 35 years, 23 of them here in Lower Merion, and while I agree with what the columnist wrote, he didn't go quite far enough. The impact that she has had on children and families who've been lucky enough to be part of the Merion Elementary community is unmatched. Beyond that, she's been a mentor, sounding board, and historian of the district. That's been particularly important for a new superintendent who would say, "What do we do in that part of that? Ask Heffron. Just pick up the phone and ask Heffron." Even though Ann didn't quite hit the 25-year mark in Lower Merion, we couldn't let tonight pass without recognizing her and thanking her for all she has done. And while we all certainly wish you the best as you begin your retirement at the end of the school year, we want to let you know how much you're appreciated and how much you'll be missed. Congratulations. So as I said earlier, tonight we come together to honor those who, for the past 25 years, have shared an unyielding dedication to the interests of children, a commitment to our schools, students, and community, and a spirited loyalty to the Lower Merion School District. To help celebrate their outstanding contributions to public education in Lower Merion, we have asked their colleagues to share some remarks, and we also have a small token of appreciation for our honored guests when they visit the podium. Though it's impossible to adequately express our thanks for all that you have done for this community, we are forever grateful for your service and your commitment to our district. Congratulations on reaching this important milestone. Here to introduce our first honoree is Ann Heffron.
Before I talk really briefly about Jane Ronzon, our gifted support teacher, Mr. Copeland, I'd like to thank you for those very heartfelt words. I've been holding it together really well so far, and I haven't had my little emotional cry, but I know when the children leave in June and I say goodbye to the kids and the faculty, that will be my time to let the waterworks go. But it has been really, truly, and in so many of the board members that I've worked with you over the years, Diane, we've been together for a long time. Your kids went to Merion. It has been a privilege and an honor to be part of like the premier school district in Pennsylvania, and I've worked in other places, in other school districts, and after 23 years at Merion with the wonderful community, staff and students, fabulous administrators, a very supportive school board, my elementary principal colleagues, and members of the cabinet and academic council team, I couldn't have imagined a better place to be for the last 23 years. So I thank you very much from the bottom of my heart. I've loved every minute of it, so thank you. So I was told to be brief, so I'm going to be really brief. Jane Ronzon is one of our recognized people today for 25 years in the district. Unfortunately, Jane's not able to be with us tonight because she's at her daughter's college graduation at San Diego State. And just a real brief comment about Jane. Jane's been a gifted support teacher at Merion since 1994, and she's shepherded countless Merion students in their quest to become deeper thinkers and collaborators. Her students over the years have loved going to Challenge, not because it was challenge per se, but because of the love and respect and nurturing that she provided for each of them. So I will read the longer one when Jane's back at work, but I'd like to congratulate Jane on this recognition. Well deserved. Do you want me to take the things for her? No? Okay.
May I come up? Why, thank you. Happy Monday, everybody. So, Lower Merion High School has several people to recognize tonight, and I get the honor of doing that. First off, I'd like to introduce and recognize my colleague, our head librarian, Pam McGlone. Pam began her professional career as an educator in 1974, teaching English at the middle school level in Wallingford, Swarthmore, Radnor, Haverford, Upper Darby, and Springfield school districts. Always impressed with the fact that students became better writers through the process of researching and reading about topics that interested them, Pam supported project-based learning through regular classroom field trips to both the school and public libraries. Encouraged and supported by her late husband, Frank, Pam became a certified school librarian in 1977 and earned a master's degree in library science from Villanova University following the birth of their son, Greg. Pam also worked as a public librarian for the Delaware County Library System, managing the federal grant money that funded library services to senior citizens. Then one day, Pam read a help wanted ad in the newspaper. That's what we call the old way that teaching jobs were posted. Lower Merion High School needed a librarian for one semester in 1988. She got the job, substituted for the veteran librarian, and hoped that one day she'd return to work at Lower Merion. Next couple years, Pam seized opportunities to substitute for other local K-12 school libraries and loved promoting literacy through special programs, all while still teaching the art and science of research and process. Lower Merion welcomed Pam back in 1992 to a year-long position at the librarian as a librarian at Marion Elementary. After spending that inspirational year with the young students, Pam was hired full-time at Lower Merion High School in 1993. She began her 25-year journey as a Lmsb librarian with the cutting-edge technology that gave students access to print newspaper articles indexed on CDs. That was followed by the never-ending lessons on how to navigate the World Wide Web. Today, our librarian teaches students how to find vetted information using online databases, along with how to create the mandatory works cited. Pam is extremely proud to contribute to the collaborative work that our district librarians and teachers do to support student learning through reading and information. I've had the pleasure of working with Pam for many years. She's one of the most heartfelt people I've ever encountered. She's made a difference in so many young lives. As a librarian, Pam has taught students to follow their interests, enjoy the power of reading, and reach their highest potential. Pam, thank you for your service to Lower Merion High School, its students, its faculty, and this community. Congratulations. There you go. Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to honor and introduce my colleague, Lower Merion High School social studies teacher, Mike Moeller. Mike is from Boyertown, Pennsylvania, and a 1985 graduate of Boyertown Senior High. He graduated with a degree in secondary education in May 1989 from Norwich University, Northfield, Vermont, and holds a master's degree in sports administration, which he received from Temple in '99. Mike began his teaching career as a daily sub in 14 school districts in Berks and Montgomery counties. He continued as a long-term social studies teacher at Lower Merion High School, where he taught U.S. government during the second semester of 1991. After a brief hiatus from teaching, he returned to Lower Merion High School in the fall of '93 as part of the professional teaching anthropology and psychology that year. The following year, he taught non-Western cultures, which is Global Studies 1, and U.S. government at Harriton High School. He returned to Lower Merion full-time in '96, where he began to teach anthropology, psychology, and African Asian studies. Today, Mike continues to teach 9th grade Global Studies 1 and has done a tremendous job. During the first 2 years at Lower Merion, Mike served as the assistant athletic director under the famous Tom McGovern. He also served, who was replaced by the famous Sean Hughes. He also served as assistant. Just thought I'd throw that in there, folks. He also served as assistant athletic director under Nick Satani during his 1 year at Harriton High School. In '97, Mike coached the Lower Merion High School boys junior varsity lacrosse team under John Lenahan. He was the head coach of Lower Merion Middle School boys ice hockey team, that's BC and Welsh Valley, for 7 years. He then became the head coach of Lower Merion High School boys varsity ice hockey team for 3 years. He resides in Gilbertsville with his wife Kimberly and 2 sons, Peter and Alexander. Mike is one of the most caring people I've ever worked with and an asset to Lower Merion High School. He has a true passion for teaching, and I even get excited when I walk into his classes. Mike consistently strives to help his students reach their highest potential. Mike, thank you for your service to Lower Merion, its students, faculty, and community. Next, I'd like to honor Lower Merion High School science teacher, Mike Stentner. Mike began his teaching career in 1988 in Bristol Township in Bucks County, then taught at Archbishop Ryan and St. Hubert High School in Philadelphia before coming to Lower Merion in 1993. He's been at Lower Merion High School since that time, teaching the 4 famous science electives, geology, astronomy, meteorology, and oceanography, as well as AP Environmental Science since 2009. For his first 10 years or so at LM, Mike ran the intramural bowling club that had 30 to 60 students at Wynwood Lanes. He has coached the LM Science Olympiad team since 1994, making the state finals every year and twice making it into the top 20 teams in the U.S. Last year, Mike was recognized as a top teacher by the Mainline Today magazine. Mike and his family live in Gilbertsville in Upper Montgomery County. His daughter just completed her junior year at Temple University, and his son will be graduating from Boyertown Area High School. I've had the pleasure of working with Mike for these past 21 years, and he is one of the most dedicated people I've ever worked with. As a teacher, he's taught so many students to do their best, be passionate about science, and to enjoy every moment of learning. What more can a student ask for from their teacher? Mike, we thank you for your service to Lower Merion students, faculty, and the community. Next, I have the honor to introduce our head custodian at Lower Merion, the famous Jimmy Perry. Jim Perry began his career at Lower Merion High School in the summer of 1993 as a daytime custodian after being an owner and operator of his own luncheonette. Fred Perry interviewed Jim Perry and took a chance which changed the directions of Jim's life. Jim was a day custodian until he was promoted to head custodian in '97. When Jim was hired, he immediately spoke with Tom McGovern, again former athletic director, about the possibility of coaching wrestling, since Jim has a wrestling background. Mr. McGovern hired Jim to be the assistant wrestling coach along with his custodial position. Jim was awarded the head wrestling coaching position in 2008, where he remains, making him also a 25-year coach. Jim's work ethic is outstanding. No job's too big or too small. The faculty and staff at Lower Merion were so impressed with Jim's helpful personality and ability to prioritize work that they awarded him with the annual De Bono Award a few years ago, and then the student body also awarded him with the famous Fritz Brennan Award in 2011. I've had the pleasure of working with Jimmy while I was a teacher, the AD, assistant principal, and now principal. His work ethic is incredible. He cares so much about our school and community. He's the best head custodian I could have ever asked for. I'm proud to be his friend and colleague and boss. Jim, we thank you for your service to Lower Merion High School.
Yeah, I'm still coming back to that.
See you at 5:30, Jim. I have the honor tonight to introduce also and recognize my colleague, Wynn Stovall. As a mathematics major at Spelman College, Wynn had never planned to teach school and never thought about a career in teaching until the second semester of her senior year when her favorite professor, Dr. Bowers, suggested that she apply for the Fellows in Teaching Fellowship at the Teachers College of Columbia University. Taking his suggestion, she applied for, and to her surprise, received the fellowship. So, she attended. At Teachers College, Wynn obtained her MA in mathematics education and completed her student teaching at JFK High School, a school with over 5,000 students in the Bronx. From January 1990 to 1993, Wynn taught pre-algebra and algebra to 8th grade students at Montgomery Middle School in Skillman, New Jersey. There she was the math counts advisor and the boys soccer assistant coach. In the summers from 1990 to 95, Wynn worked at a community program called the Young Scholars Institute in Trenton, New Jersey, teaching pre-algebra to 6th to 8th grade students. In September of 93, she began her teaching career at the famous Lower Merion High School. Since that time, she has taught almost every math course from plain geometry to standard level calc. According to Wynn, her specialty is teaching the kids in the middle, the kids who may be hard to reach or those who struggle with math. In addition to teaching, Wynn has been the assistant athletic director, field coach on both boys and track team, faculty sponsor of Role Models on the Move. She conducted several cultural trips and organized college visits to CUs, and area colleges and universities. During the 05-06 school year, Wynn obtained her administrative certification from Cabrini College, completing her administrative internship at Lower Merion High School under Dr. Joyce Jewell. In addition, she served on Concerned Black Parents and Educators, the Scheduling Committee, and the Care Committee. Wynn recently shared with me an email she received last week from a former student from the year of 2006. It reads, "I just wanted to say that I appreciate you, Ms. Stovall. My favorite memories from your class were the impromptu Black history lessons around math, the super high expectations in math for a kid like me, your sarcasm and jokes that made math fun, your empowerment of women, African Americans to be leaders. I didn't recognize it then, but those lessons truly shaped who I've become as an adult. I hope that you continue to change and positively impact the lives. Thank you, Christina Chappell, class of 2006. I've had the pleasure also of working with Wynn in these many years, and she's an amazing person with such a deep commitment to her students. Again, what could a student or community ask for? Wynn, we thank you for your service at Lower Merion as students and faculty. Please come. Not able to attend tonight, but also celebrating their 25 years of service were our Secretary, Mayor D'Amica, Secretary Darlene Mandarino, and our Literacy Specialist, Diane Shannon. We'd like to also thank them for their service to Lower Merion High School, this community, and everyone. So thank you, everybody. And now I'll turn this over to Mr. Weinstein.
Good evening, everybody. It is my pleasure to represent Harriton High School and speak on behalf of Chris Santa Maria. Chris has spent his entire career in Lower Merion as a social studies teacher at Harriton. He arrived at Harriton in February of 1993 as a long-term substitute and started full-time at Harriton the following September. In addition to teaching his first full year, Chris served as a JV volleyball coach and NHS faculty advisor. And in addition to those positions, over his 25 years, Chris also coached varsity girls soccer, varsity softball, was assistant athletic director, and for 10 years he was the public address announcer at all Harriton home football games. In 1999, Chris was asked to take on the role of social studies department chair and served in that capacity for 10 years until 2009. In 1998, Chris was elected to an officer position in the LMEA, Lower Merion Education Association. There, he represented the LMEA on numerous district committees, including the Community Advisory Committee that determined that 2 new high schools should be built, the 2 schools committee that aligned the schedules for the high schools, the Strategic Plan Committee, and numerous other committees. In 2007, Chris was elected president of LMEA, and in that capacity, he helped to successfully negotiate 3 labor contracts with the district. Chris retired from LMEA leadership this year and has been enjoying a lot less stressful year as a full-time teacher. Demonstrating that he can be talked into anything, in 2017, Chris was elected by his peers statewide to represent active professionals as a trustee on the board of directors for the Public School Employees Retirement System. He currently serves as a PSERS trustee until 2021. I knew Chris from his previous role as the president of LMEA. In that role, I was sure hoping that Chris was a good teacher when I got to Harriton High School. I learned very quickly that Chris isn't just a good teacher, he is an outstanding teacher and a consummate professional. He's trusted and respected by his peers and students as well. He's a strong advocate and admired by his students. I personally value my relationship with Chris, and he is one of my go-to people for advice. I value his perspective greatly, and I'm grateful to work with him. Chris Santa Maria. Also being recognized for 25 years of service but not able to attend this evening is our head custodian, Mr. Rick Petrandi. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Mark Pellico, interim principal, Ballackinwood Middle School. I have the honor tonight to present one of our 25-year recognition staff, Dr. David Willis. Dr. Willis has successfully taught 8th grade in Lower Merion School District since his appointment 25 years ago. Let me repeat that. 25 years teaching 8th grade. We all know that teaching is a special vocation. I believe teaching middle school is an extra special vocation, and Dr. Willis is certainly proud of it. For 15 years, Dr. Willis taught English, art, and science in the Voices of Change program. For 10 years, Dr. Willis has taught science, and that is his current position at BC. Dr. Willis has always been committed to professional growth. In 2004, he earned his doctorate in educational leadership from St. Joseph's University. In addition to his excellent instructional skills and vast knowledge of science, Dr. Willis has been a support to students beyond the classroom. He has coached football, girls basketball, and girls track. He has been a member of the START team. Dr. Willis is a supportive member of the BC staff. He provides keen insights and solid problem solving, which helps his colleagues support student growth, both with his grade level team and within the science department. So please join me in congratulating for 25 years of service, Dr. David Willis. Also completing 25 years at Ballackinwood but not able to be here this evening is Miss Lori McNeil, Mr. Tim Mohan, and Mrs. Beth Pavlitich. They deserve recognition as well for their 25 years in Lower Merion. Thank you very much, everyone. And Dr. Martino.
Good evening. In the honor of our elementary, I'd like to definitely honor Ms. Suzanne Spiegelman for 25 years of service. And in taking out of the secondary and going into a kindergarten role, I kind of encompassed her time in a poem. We're here to honor Suzanne today for 25 years at Lmsd, giving of herself, her time, and her passion to help our children all be all they can be. Her roots run deep inside these walls as a parent and an amazing school leader. It seems just like yesterday she was out on the field as a Lower Merion High School cheerleader. She has raised amazing girls through our schools, a giver in every way, always being the rock of support to help them excel. She's wonderful. What can we say? She earned her stripes through learning support ranks, then entered the kindergarten scene. Her flat Stanley lesson is the talk of the town, being used in the Rosemont College team. Suzanne runs her class with style and form, a general of reference by some. But if bringing out the best in children were a gardening tool, Suzanne would certainly have a green thumb. Persistence and patience are her forte. With only half the day, you need to be efficiently quick. She is always there for her students, giving all she has, with rarely a day she's out sick. So let's honor Suzanne for 25 years strong. Honestly, 25 more she can handle. As long as the gift for 50 years served is not a smelly Yankee-like candle. We'd like to honor Suzanne Spiegelman. Thank you. Yes. Kristen Schreiner is also receiving the 25-year award but could not be with us this evening. He is an instructional assistant at Kinwood Elementary School. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I have the honor tonight of honoring 4 people representing Penwell Elementary. When the name Deborah Cohen comes to mind, 3 words immediately jump to mind: caring, compassionate cheerleader. Over the course of her 25 years in Lower Merion School District, Debbie has served in a variety of roles, all of which have highlighted her caring, compassion, and cheerleading for students. Debbie started her service to Lower Merion School District working for 11 years as a school counselor and then as a special education social worker at Ballackinwood Middle School. Following her service at the middle school level, Debbie transitioned to the elementary world in 2005, serving as a special education teacher and intervention specialist over the course of the next 14 years. Debbie has served in all 6 of our elementary schools. Although Debbie's titles in schools have changed over the course of the 14 years in the elementary world, 3 things have remained consistent. Debbie first consistently displayed a high degree of caring for the children entrusted to her care. Debbie made it a point to get to know each and every one of her students and made sure that they understood that she was there for them. Debbie quickly and easily created relationships with each of her students, which were the foundation for her work in supporting them. Secondly, in each of her roles that Debbie has served, she has worked to compassionately support struggling students. Debbie communicates with her children that she understands that sometimes things are hard, and this validation serves as a starting point for Debbie's push to support her students to achieve all that they are capable of. Debbie balances between empathizing with her students and working them hard when she knows that they are capable. She is a warm demander who wants nothing but the best for her kids. Finally, Debbie's students know that she is their biggest cheerleader. No matter what challenges a child may face, Debbie will always find and celebrate their strengths. She builds on the smallest steps toward success to encourage and motivate her children. On behalf of the children of Lower Merion School District, we thank Debbie for her advocacy over the past 25 years in supporting students to achieve all that they are capable of. Next, I'd like to honor Sandy Yozviak. The vast majority of teachers usually experience a variety of grade assignments at a variety of schools before settling into their niche. Sandy Yozviak is uniquely situated in that she began her career at Penguin Elementary 25 years ago in 3rd grade, where she remains to this day. This unique extended tenure has provided Sandy with the opportunity to positively impact on the Penguin school community in a number of ways. First and foremost, Sandy is an expert at creating a classroom community in which she identifies and builds on each child's individual strengths. She creates a safe space where kids can test things out, try things on, and explore who they are, always knowing that Ms. Yozviak has a watchful eye on them. Sandy equally promotes the academic as well as the social-emotional development of the students entrusted to her care. She sets high expectations for all of her students and supports them to achieve to the best of their abilities. Sandy's impact on her students extends well beyond the 180 school days that she has them in her room. She sets them up to be lifelong learners and communicates to them that she will be their fan for life. Each year, at least one high school senior will reach out to seek permission to return to Ms. Yozviak's class to complete their senior project as they consider a career in education. Additionally, on early dismissal and exam days, from the high school, it is not uncommon to have former students stopping by Penguin wanting to visit with Ms. Yozviak. In addition to the impact that she has had on students that she teaches, Ms. Yozviak has also left her mark on the multitude of professionals that she has worked with over the course of the 25 years. Ms. Yozviak serves as the glue for her team, guiding her colleagues along. Ms. Yozviak has served both formally and informally as a mentor to countless new teachers. Her legacy will live on well beyond her tenure at Penguin in the influence that she has had on the many professionals that she has coached and supported in their professional development and growth. In addition to all that Sandy does to positively contribute to the Penguin school community, she also brings with her a flair for the dramatic. Sandy's incorporation of theater into her classroom instruction provides her students with a unique opportunity to learn in some non-traditional ways. Her students learn to sing their math facts, and Sandy annually writes, directs, and produces a class play. Her most recent production of the Water Fashion Show received rave reviews from the critics. We thank Sandy for all that she has contributed to Penguin, and we congratulate her on her 25 years of service. Next, I'd like to honor Barbara Humes. For the past 25 years, Barbara Humes has shared her love and passion for music with thousands of children. For someone whose work oftentimes ends up on the stage, one thing is always true of Mrs. Humes. The spotlight is continuously placed on the children entrusted to her care as she supports, encourages, and prods them as they develop and share their musical abilities in a multitude of ways. As much as Mrs. Humes is the driving force behind their success, Barb always makes it a point to keep the attention and the focus on the children. Once during an interview process for prospective music teachers, Barb shared with me a look for. She said that something that she looks for is where the conductor or the director stands at the end of a performance. She shared that if they stand center stage, you know it's about them. If they step to the side, you know it's about the kids. And with Mrs. Humes, it's always about the kids, be it in her general music class, the plays she directs, or the concert she conducts. In her general music classes, Barb actively engages her students as they master a wide variety of skills. Barb has directed countless first and fifth grade plays. Working with 125 plus first and fifth graders to get them to work collaboratively requires an impressive mix of musical coaching, stage directing, and a little bit of drill sergeant, when needed, to get everything just right. Barb sets high expectations for her kids and supports and guides them to meet these expectations. Some of Penn Win's alumni have shared that their participation in these performances have been one of their lasting memories of their time at Penn Win. Finally, Barb directs our choral music group, the Penn Win Singers. Her Monday 8 a.m. rehearsals speak volumes to her dedication and drive. The hundreds of students who voluntarily have chosen to participate in this group speaks to the value that they place on being under her direction. The winter and spring concerts are highlights of the school year and are seemingly timed to provide a respite from the stresses of the world for a few precious moments when they are most needed. Barb's colleagues shared their admiration for her drive and commitment, as well as their appreciation for her friendship that they have developed over the last 25 years. I share this appreciation as well. She is a consummate professional and reliable friend, and we congratulate her on her 25 years of service. Finally, it's my privilege to honor Lynn Partridge for her years of service. In education, we often talk about being on journeys of learning. For those who are on a journey, having a knowledgeable guide serves to ensure that you stay the course and make progress towards getting to your destination. Over the course of the last 25 years, Lynn Partridge has served as a trusted guide for a multitude of children, families, teachers, community members, and administrators who are traveling a variety of paths on their journeys through life. Lynn started guiding children as a classroom teacher at Kenwood Elementary, moving on to become a gifted support teacher at Belmont Hills Elementary. Lynn expanded her circle of influence as her professional journey has taken her to serve as assistant principal over the last 6 years. In her time as assistant principal, she has served at Penn Valley, Marion, and Penn Win, where she is happily serving on a full-time basis. In her role as an administrator, Lynn has helped to pave the path for countless children and has worked to remove any barriers or obstacles that get in the way. Lynn is first and foremost always an advocate for the child. She continually asks herself and others, what is in the best interest of this child at this particular moment of their life journey? Focusing on this seemingly simple question oftentimes provides clarity in complex situations. Lynn will always advocate for kids and will insist that a particular path be followed, even if it makes her unpopular with some constituencies. Lynn further assists children in pursuing their lives' journeys by helping to support teachers and families in a variety of ways. Lynn's thoughtful feedback and open-ended questioning with teachers assist them to hone their skills and identify areas for their continued growth. Lynn has engaged countless educators in courageous conversations when issues of race and equity arise. She has helped to promote a school culture in which engaging in these conversations is part of who we are as a school community. Lynn not only engages in these conversations, but also supports our teachers and families as they engage in these conversations as well. She has been a key guide to all of Penn Win as we journey towards cultural proficiency. Lynn has taken her guide role into the community as well. She is a founding member of the CARE Committee and an active participant to this day. Finally, Lynn has been a consistent guide for me professionally. Lynn is a big picture thinker, and she helps me to see the interconnectedness of the multitude of initiatives and undertakings that are a persistent presence in public education. Lynn has been a guide for me when grappling with complex and sometimes emotionally charged situations, and she is always a reliable sounding board. I've learned over the years that I need to pause and possibly take a step back anytime that I am sharing a proposed course of action with Lynn and she suddenly becomes quiet. For those of us who know and love Lynn, she is rarely at a loss for words. This quietness is always followed by a probing question or an additional factor to consider. Invariably, this questioning or probing assists me to seek a new path or alter a course of action, always for the better. Lynn's legacy in Lower Merion School District will live on well beyond the 25 years that she has been serving, and we congratulate her on arriving at this stop on your ongoing journey. Congratulations, Lynn.
Good evening, Jim Lill, Director of Operations, and it's my honor to recognize Sue Rogers for her 25 years of service to the school district. Sue started at Penn Valley as a one-to-one aide, was a clerical aide at Penn Valley, and moved on to become the secretary to the principal at Belmont Hills Elementary, where she worked for 15 years. I'm sure, as the principals will point out, that secretary position is extremely critical and keeps things on track on a daily basis within the schools. 5 years ago, Sue had the opportunity to come to work at the happiest place on earth. No, not Disney World. The Lower Merion School District's Operations Department. Sue's official title is Administrative Assistant. She's also the Use of Facilities Coordinator. I refer to Sue, or I see Sue frequently operate similar to an air traffic controller. If you ever want to see what it looks like at the control tower at Philadelphia International Airport, spend about 15-20 minutes at Sue's desk. Whether it's arranging substitute custodial coverage, the use of facilities by our various community groups, and making sure that there is custodial coverage to let them in, Sue can handle multiple issues coming at multiple directions all at the same time. In the education field, we often recognize people who are exceptional at what they do and make significant contributions to the schools and the school district, and oftentimes we call them rock stars. Tonight I want to congratulate Sue on her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I congratulate her on her 25 years of service to the school district.
So I'm sure all of the honorees here tonight who have devoted 25 years to Lower Merion School District have an incredible amount of knowledge about our district. But I would also venture a guess that few, if any, can boast the level of institutional knowledge that Anna O'Hora possesses. She is the epicenter of the School and Community Relations Department. She knows everything and everybody that has passed through this district for the past 25 years. She can tell you a story about them, she can pull up their photos, as she did tonight for those posters, and probably those of their kids if they went to school here. Her office could double as the Lmsb Historical Museum, but she is in no way lost in the past. She keeps going like the Energizer Bunny. She puts together the printed district calendars, updates the website calendars, makes sure our department bills get paid, and runs around taking hundreds, if not thousands, of photos at school events every year. She even made her own recognition poster board and program for tonight's recognition ceremony. We kept trying to get her out of it, and she said, no, I want to do it, I want to do it. She didn't take her days off last week to finish it. But I can honestly say, personally, that I would not have made it through my first year here in the district without her knowledge, her sense of humor, and her very, very sage advice. And I know that our third musketeer in our department, Dan Kapkin, joins me in congratulating Anna and thanking her for all that she does. Congratulations on 25 years.
Well, I just want to say on behalf of the board, this is always one of the sort of highlights of the year, which is to get a chance to hear all about the difference so many people are making for the district and of course for our students. So I want to congratulate everyone on behalf of the board and just thank you for everything that you're doing. We're going to move on in the agenda, and you are more than welcome to stay if you like, everybody. But just in case you've got to get up for work in the morning and want to head home, then this is a good opportunity to do that. But thank you again to everyone.
I'm parked out here, so I'm going to go this way.
No, I'll go out that way with you. I'll walk with
Should we get started?
Sure.
Well,
Hey, we got a long-range financial, they're going to miss it, you know. But before we get into that, I'd like to make some brief announcements on the acceptance of the Interschool Council mini-grant distribution. This year, the ISC received 81 grant applications, excuse me, for the 2019-20 school year, requesting $51,664. A total of 39 grants received funding, and the total grant funding for the 2019-20 school year is $13,834, with award amounts ranging from $100 to a maximum award of $780. I know we all appreciate the hard work that the ISC puts together for this, as well as the hard work that teachers and staff do, thinking of ways to enhance the school program.
are they doing a presentation?
Yes.
Yes, I see. I'm sorry, I thought, anyway, I just want to take a moment on behalf of the board to thank the ISC, and I know Laura Banchero and Andrea Fox and Sarah Altman for all of their work. I saw Sarah, so I thought maybe she was going to say, that's why.
I'm just here to say thank you for putting in the effort with us.
Well, we appreciate the effort with this and with everything else you've done for the ISC and the entire ISC board, so thank you. Okay, sorry.
Our next presentation is a review of the financial analysis. As the board knows and the public may know, that as we begin to roll out our expectations for the new third middle school, there's a number of complex financial issues we have to deal with. And so with that, our financial analyst, Glenn Willard, is here this evening. Mr. Willard?
Good evening. David Twaddell is with me, whose firm serves as bond counsel, Eckert Siemens. We've been working with the administration for some time, preparing for financing of the new middle school, and more recently the Finance Committee. This first chart is the really good news that interest rates have fallen for us over the last 6 months or so. You can see the chart there on the right shows a real drop in interest rates since the fall. And the section of the chart on the left shows you historically we're almost down near the bottoms we got 2 years ago. So that's the great news for borrowing funds. This next chart shows you a snapshot of Lower Merion's outstanding indebtedness. One of the things that we've decided in our discussions with the administration and the Finance Committee is that a wraparound bond issue is an option for the district to consider. In column 10 there, that's the summary of all the different bond issues. You can see it starts to drop off rather substantially as we get out 8 or 10 years. And so what we're going to do is design the repayments for the new bond issue to dovetail with the drop off as it occurs in column number 10. And that's called a wraparound bond issue. This chart shows you the draw schedule. We're assuming heavy draws next summer, the summer of 20, when the construction bids come in, taking about 2 years for a completion of construction. So it shows us that we need some funds for the interim portion before the big financing occurs, and that's shown in, I think that's column number 8 up there. And we've looked at whether to do multiple financings, how to time them, and what the Finance Committee and administration, I think, like is a small bond issue up front, depending on where interest rates are when we're ready to go. We would need to come back to the board as in conjunction with the construction bids coming in. This scenario shows 2 larger financings in 2020 and 2021, and then a wrap-up bond issue towards the end in 2022, depending on how all the costs come in and any alternates or deductions as we go through the whole process. So you don't have to do 4 financings. This just shows that as an option. We're asking for authorization to get ready for the first one and decide, depending on how interest rates look, whether it's $10 million or a different number. Here in the yellow, this shows if, with the model that was put together in columns 8, 9, 10, and 11, 4 financings, how the debt service would be phased in over the course of the next 15 years or so. Starting in column 7, that was the existing payments that we looked at a couple pages ago, and it shows how we're wrapping around. The summary of those 4 financings is in column 12. And so you see as column 7 gets smaller, column 12 increases, and we keep your payments more or less level in column number 13. And the budgetary increases you would need are shown in column 16. So 4 increases in those early years, and then all the money's in place you'd need to make the debt service payments for the balance of the bond issues. The timing here is such that we're just asking for authorization to proceed, get the paperwork together, get the credit ratings, the official statements, and be in a position that we would come back to the board July the 15th. David's firm would have the debt incurring resolution. It's a 30-page document or so that would, at that point, authorize us to go out and lock in interest rates. We think by August then we would be in a position, the board action would be July 15th, and we would go out and get those interest rates then in August, have settlement roughly 30 days after that. Then in 6 months or so, you'd be ready for your Act 34 hearing, and in 9 months from that time, you'd be ready for the construction bids. So there's a resolution in your package authorizing the team to get together and get all the documentation ready. There's also a brief memo and a resolution authorizing us to do a refinancing. You have some variable rate bonds with an interest rate swap. Depending on market conditions, we can terminate and refund that with Lower Merion's fixed-rate bonds and save 15 to 20 basis points depending on market conditions. We would recommend at least $400,000 of savings before we would do that. So that's also a resolution I think that you have. So are there any questions?
Thank you very much for the presentation. I know that this was discussed at length in the Finance Committee on May 9th, but Dan, you have a question?
Thanks, Glenn. One thing we didn't ask at the meeting the other day was if we were to do a single large financing or just two large financings and not the four staggered, how would that affect the local effort? Would that increase it significantly, or could it be structured so that it didn't have a big different impact on the local effort?
Well, what would happen is, I don't know how to go backwards on the screen, but if you go back to the
Page 6.
If you go back to where there was four increases, you would accelerate those so that the increases would probably be in 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
So there isn't a way.
It looks like 16.
16, yeah, that's what I was looking at.
So instead of it being spread out over 4 years, it would probably be spread out over 2 or 3 years.
So you're talking like $2 to $2.5 million a year for 2 years rather than.
Right.
And there's not a way to spread that out?
Not really.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Hi.
We did discuss this rate swap thing
Yes.
At the Finance Committee meeting, but perhaps you could just take like, in 25 words or less, explain the basics what that means. You know what I'm saying? Just in plain English, what exactly it is we would be doing.
Well, in 2007, we locked in an interest rate that would start in 2 years. So there were no bonds, we just locked in the interest rate, and then we issued variable rate bonds in 2009 when we got to that point in time. We locked in at 4%, which was, in 2007, before the financial crisis, was a very low interest rate, and then interest rates went lower after that. So now we've kept the variable rate bonds, we've kept the swap. You don't have to do anything, and you just pay the 4%, but we're able to refund the bonds, terminate the swap, issue these fixed rate bonds, and save 15 or 20 basis points on $50 million.
And basis points is the interest rate.
Yeah. So a little bit 25 basis points would be 1/4 of 1%. So this is 0.2 of 1% is what we'd be trying to save.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? No. Thank you for your explanation. I think the bottom line is we're hoping to actually save some money. I think is the bottom line here. So,
Melissa, just one thing. So later in the agenda, are we going to be voting on the authority for this?
So the agenda is the authorization to us to proceed, to start paperwork together. There would be, in July, then there would be a motion with the parameters and what we're going to borrow. So tonight's just strictly authorization. We can start the paperwork and everything, but we're going to come back in July with numbers, and Glenn will be here to say, here's what we're going to.
To make the final decision,
Correct.
whether it's 4 separate.
It's correct.
Or too big, or.
Well, it would just be on the first one.
First one.
It would just be on the size of the first one.
Size of the first one.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
thank you very much.
Because it's an action item, they're going to hang out just for that.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to take audience recognition on action items only. That is, this is an opportunity for a resident or taxpayer to comment on an item that's listed on the agenda so that we can hear public comment before we actually vote on it. At the end of the meeting, we'll have opportunity for public comment on any issue. So is there anyone who would like to speak or ask questions about an item that's on the agenda at this time? If you could come up and please sign in with Ms. LaPera. Is there anyone? Okay, then we will move on. And I'd like to approve the attached minutes from the Board of School Directors meetings. That's the April 29th regular business board meeting, the May 13th education meeting, as well as accepting the following committee meeting minutes: May 7th curriculum, May 9th finance, May 10th policy, May 15th finance, and May 16th facilities and purchasing. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. And I will turn it over to you, Mr. Copeland.
Thank you. Under Human Resources, I'd like to take items A through C in one motion. Superintendent recommends that the Board of School Directors approve the attached Human Resource Actions HR 1 through HR 6. Further, it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the employment contract with Megan Schaefer as Assistant to the Superintendent for District Administration for a term to commence July 1st, 2019 and end June 30th, 2024. It is further recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the employment contract between the District and Ms. Schaefer in the form presented. And it is recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the employment contract with Victor Orlando as Business Manager for a term to commence July 1st, 2019 and end June 30th, 2024. It is further recommended that the Board of School Directors approve the employment contract between the District and Mr. Orlando in the form presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? The motions pass, and we're glad to have you both continuing with us. So, thank you. We'll move on. Great. Oh, I'm sorry. We're going to have a report of the Curriculum Committee by Dr. Van Lynch.
We did it right.
We did do it right, except I hesitated. But
Thank you, Dr. Gilbert. The Curriculum Committee of the board met on Tuesday, May 7th. We had a textbook proposal for the purchase of the Discovering Life Skills textbook and related online resources to replace the current text for our high school health courses. And that text was over 5 years old. The total cost for the Discovering Life Skills textbook is $4,188.61 for 50 copies and supplementary resources. Mr. Cody also shared a copy of the text with the Curriculum Committee, and the committee agreed to move this proposal on for full board consideration. The committee had 2 presentation topics on May 7th, and just to remind the public, all of the presentation and supporting documents can be found on the district website under Board Docs tab, as well as under the Education Supplementary Board Meeting section. 2 topics included: first, elementary report card. Dr. Everslock opened with a welcome and introductions and an overview of the revised K-2 elementary report card, which is part of the larger strategic plan focus explorations in the areas of transformative curriculum, and more specifically, the strategic pathway redefining success. Ms. Robin Claber of Belmont Hills Elementary presented the work of the initiative to date, and what was presented to the committee around the revisions in the report cards were 2 questions: what's the purpose of grades and what needs are being met? The newly revised elementary report card seeks to accomplish the following goals: align with our district purpose for grading, improve alignment with PA core standards and Lmsb curriculum, broaden our reporting on values reflected in the strategic plan, including fostering a growth mindset, innovation, the habits of mind, and our transformative goals, be more easily readable and meaningful for families and educators, include meaningful narrative that values growth and student dispositions, and finally tell a story about the student as a learner. The elementary report card team has met since 2017. That school year, the focus was the 4th grade piloting of the newly revised version. 2018-19, the 3rd through 5th grade began using the revised version, and this year the K-2, so a full circle in terms of K-5 revision of the report card. Distinctions of the K-2 report card: it will include fewer standards in the grade 3-5 report card, be more narrative rich, continue to reflect growth mindset, innovation, habits of mind, and transformative goals. contain multiple narrative areas, including ELA and math, to tell the student's story, accounting for the unique ebbs and flows of where K-2 learners are in their development. The committee asked questions regarding teacher support during transition and time needed to complete the revised version. Questions also regarding revision considerations for the middle and high school report cards were also raised. The team was acknowledged and thanked for its comprehensive work on this important district-wide strategic plan initiative. Our second topic was around the one book Lower Merion School District selection. We were presented with the Little Book of Luca, Secrets of the World's Happiest People by Mike Wyking. Dr. Pratt, Ms. Shannon Davis of World Language Chair, our World Language Chair at Harriton, and Ms. Allison Millett, World Language Department Chair at Lower Merion, shared with the committee an overview and context of the book selection. The one book will have a K-12 focus this year. It was also shared that the selection connects with the strategic plan and other work across the district. The team saw opportunities to connect with transformative goals, challenge success, habits of mind, advisory forum, morning meeting, and second step. The team also negotiated with the publisher to develop a Lmsb special edition, given some concerns with explicit language in the original version. Lower Merion students, families, and the larger community will be able to purchase a copy of the book at a reduced cost of $10 from the district. And again, the curriculum committee thanked the team for its extensive and exciting work and looks forward to hearing more in the fall about the one book selection. That concludes my report.
Thank you.
Under Educational Services, I'd like to take items B and C in one motion. The administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached overnight field trips, and the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the purchase of the attached quotes for textbooks and digital resources.
Are there any questions? Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes.
Under Student Services, I'd like to take A through C in one motion. Administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the student services items as listed. Agreement for students receiving non-district educational services SS1 through SS11. Further, the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approve the attached independent consultant contracts. And finally, the administration recommends that the Board of School Directors approves the attached service agreement with the Lincoln Center for Family and Youth for 2 FTE master's level school-based counselors for the 2019-2020 school year in the amount of $158,000.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. And we will have reports of the May 9th and May 15th Finance Committee meetings from Ms. Di Bonaventura.
Thank you. The May 9th Finance Committee meeting focused on bond financing and our fund balance. And since Mr. Willer was here and went over the bond financing, I won't go into any detail, but we discussed it rather extensively and talked about options. But the one other thing that was mentioned at that meeting was we talked about, we reviewed our reserve and general fund commitments for the upcoming year. The presentation does have the slides attached, which have all the numbers on them. But basically, we want to spend down most of our current capital reserve fund for the projects that we're working on, buses, land purchase, other capital reserve items, and then, perhaps over the plan is to bring it down to about $1.8 million. And then with the hope that over the coming years, we might be able to build that up again in case we need another big expense for buses or boilers or roofs or other things that happen during the course of maintaining our schools. So that was discussed, and as those things change, we'll continue to report back. On the May 15th Finance Committee meeting was the fourth and final Finance Committee meeting that was focused on the upcoming budget. And it was focused on curriculum and instruction. And this number is a little deceiving because it's really only the materials and supplies. It doesn't reflect the staffing, and since the majority of our budget really goes to staffing and providing teachers and aides and support staff to run the academic program, the fact that we spend $1.7 million on curriculum does not give justice to what we do in curriculum. But the upcoming budget request for this year is $1.7 million, $1,717,878. The one thing that we did highlight during the meeting was the fact that we use zero-based budgeting. So we don't just take last year's budget and say, okay, you have X amount of dollars for textbooks, we'll add 2% to that, now that's your new textbook budget. What we do is Mr. Copeland and his staff go back and go line by line and say, how much do you need for textbooks this year? And if there's a big initiative or not, then the number is adjusted accordingly. So it really is based on what we think we need for the upcoming year and not just an added percentage. Again, rather than read off a bunch of numbers, if you want to see the exact numbers, you can go to the presentation. There's video as well as slides. So if you just want to page through the slides and look at the numbers, you'll get a good sense. The one thing I will say is the elementary budget is slightly higher this year from last year, and the secondary budget is slightly lower this year than last year. So as I said, it's based on need. One other thing that was highlighted during this presentation but is not specifically focused on the upcoming budget is the cost of our co-curricular programs and the courses that we offer that are not required by the state. For example, we offer music, art, tech ed, world languages, none of which are required by the state, but all of which are supported strongly by our community, our board, and the administration. So we feel it's important to provide. So we use over 150 staff to support these programs at significant expense. But as I said, we feel it's very important. Another important expense which is not required but which is important to our mission is the co-curricular program. So that's athletics, clubs, activities, theater, science Olympiad, all our sports teams. And we spend well over $2 million a year on our secondary athletic programs and another $1 million a year on our clubs and activities. So it's a significant investment, but one that we feel reflects the values and ideals of the board, the community, and the administration. So we do have those 4 presentations. I guess, Vic, do you know when we next vote on the actual budget?
June 10th board meeting.
June 10th, and that's the final budget for the upcoming year. So if you have questions or comments about the budget, I recommend you review those presentations and then send any of those to capital comments. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We will now have a report of the May 16th Facilities and Purchasing Committee from Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you. We began the meeting by recommending approval for the list of bills. We then reviewed and recommended approval of the following district contracts. Some have already been discussed. Lincoln Center for Family Youth, $158,000 to provide 2 full-time counselors for the high schools. Karen Panzarella, $66.30 per hour. Sharon Ezareski, $66.30 per hour. And Lisa Ellis, $66.30 per hour. All will provide occupational therapy on an as-needed basis. Chris Costello, $66.30 will provide physical therapy as needed. And Ellen Madoff at $70 per hour, not to exceed $33,000, a renewal contract to provide professional services related to school psychology. ProQuest, $46,180.50. Online subscription services for student research, Questar, $11,600. Renewal contract for DRP subscription. Pearson, $49,351.67. Purchase a new digital subscription for 6 years for middle school math programs. Brain Pop, $16,908.57. A renewal contract for access to online content for elementary and middle schools. Open Up Resources, $10,500. Provide professional development for teachers and offering integrated math program next year. McGraw-Hill, $19,197. Purchase textbook and digital resources for 6 years for the AP Economics. Newsella, $27,040. Renewal contract to provide resources for text-dependent analysis at the middle schools. And Seesaw Digital Portfolios, $22,000. This is to expand a pilot program starting in the elementary schools to have an electronic place for students to save some of their work. This is somewhat of a precursor to developing the digital portfolio as part of the strategic plan. We then reviewed and recommended for approval the following items from the purchasing report. Imperial Dade, $30,876.56. This will purchase 4 new floor scrubbers to replace our older models that are reaching the end of their useful life. Mobile dredging and video pipe, $9,900. Contract to clean out stormwater basin at Lower Merion High School. Adaptive Learning Solutions, $8,190. A contract to have construction done to divide a large room into 2 smaller rooms at Kinwood Elementary to manage enrollment growth. I think it's pronounced Golden Painting, $7,600. Repaint stair towers at Harridan High School as they need a touch-up from the heavy use they've received over the past 10 years. Kistler O'Brien, $8,704. Inspect our kitchen safety equipment and clean the range hoods at all school cafeterias. Johnson Controls, $13,292. Inspect fire alarm systems and sprinkler systems district-wide. Another contract with Adaptive Living Solutions, $9,975. This is a construction contract to provide a new makerspace within the Gladwin Elementary Library. Stage Right Corporation, $13,700. Purchase 8 sound shells to replace existing shells that are wearing out at Lower Merion High School. Bus Boss, that closed out the the purchasing report. We then looked at Bus Boss, $7,745. This is a renewal contract for software package we've been using for years to establish and optimize our bus routes. Transportation contracts, we reviewed various contracts with various vendors to renew with them. Approximately 10 contractors are now available to help the district provide bus services on an as-needed basis, and having 10 allows us to price shop and also find those providers who have availability on given days when we need them to be available. National Insurance, again, this was at various rates depending on the staff member, but it's a renewal contract to provide long-term disability insurance to district employees. The one thing of note that the charge rates did not change for this renewal contract. Hudson Analytics, this is $86,033. This is a contract for this group to conduct security assessments for our 2 existing school buildings, plus the proposed new middle school at 1860 West Montgomery Ave. Rothman Orthopedics, $661,336.45. This is to provide athletic trainers for practices and games at both middle schools and high schools to support the various athletic teams for the next 3 years. The mainline school night, the district will actually receive money, $24,750, as we rent space at Lower Merion High School to offer adult classes for 9 weeks in the fall and 9 weeks in the spring. Mobile lease, $9,619 per month for the next 2 years to extend the lease for the modular classrooms at Ballacano Middle School for an additional 2 years. Spiesel Architectural Group, following 3 amendments to the contract, $570,000 fees to complete the schematic design of the proposed middle schools. We head into land development in the fall. $235,000 fees to cover subcontracting services for civil engineering and landscape plans for land development approval, and $3,000 to help develop plans to meet some historical obligations through the conditions of approval. We did discuss a Gilbert Architects contract, but that was no longer needed given the preceding Board of Commissioners meeting the night before. Chester Valley Engineers, 2 items, $23,000 will provide services to comply with some of the township conditions of approval for 1860, and an increase by not more than $12,000 to do additional work commensurate with the county's review of grading and erosion control plans for the proposed new middle school. Rental Constructions, 2 items, $154,360, managed demolition and hazardous materials abatement at 1860 West Montgomery Avenue this summer, and then $138 per hour, but not to exceed $38,640 to oversee Gladwin Elementary driveway replacement, Penn Valley facade restoration, and Lower Merion High School tennis court replacement. Given all of this construction work going on, we feel that we need some extra support from Reynolds to help manage it all. Then traffic planning and design, 2 items, not to exceed $20,000. Develop pedestrian circulation master plan to meet conditions of approval from the BOC for the proposed new middle school. and another one for not to exceed $104,000, conduct traffic studies and suggest potential improvements to the intersection of Montgomery Avenue and Spring Mill Road, to again meet the conditions of approval from the Board of Commissioners. That closed out our agenda items. Then we took 2 informational points, some current timeline for demolition at 1860 West Montgomery Avenue for the new middle school, and an update on testing for lead in the drinking water. The district tests about 1/3 of all points of drinking water every year, such that all points are tested within a 3-year window, and no lead has been detected in the last round of testing. That closed our meeting, and the next meeting will be June 6th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you very much, Mr. Driscoll. Mr. Orlando, can you do the list of bills?
Under the Business Office and Finance, I'm going to take items C through M in one motion. The administration recommends the Board of School Directors approve the following action items: approve the list of bills, approve the financial report for April 2019, with pleasure, approved with pleasure pursuant to policy 702, the following donations: AccuSpike Team Trainer Space Saver, valued at $2,650 from the Lower Merion Volleyball Boosters to Lower Merion High School's volleyball team. DJI Phantom 3 standard drone camera and controllers, valued at $499 from Tim Brockman to Walsh Valley Middle School. 20 iPads, cart, a charging tray, and cases valued at $10,300 from Gladwin Elementary Home and School Association to Gladwin Elementary. 4 tables and 24 chairs valued at $6,348.80 from Gladwin Elementary Home and School Association to Gladwin Elementary School. Approve the attached resolution, determine preliminarily to proceed to issue general obligation bonds of this school district for refunding purposes, and to terminate the related qualified interest rate management agreement, appointing an underwriter for the bonds, and confirming appointments of the financial advisor and bond counsel, and authorizing proper officers of the school district, the solicitor, bond counsel, and financial advisor to take certain action. Approve the resolution, determine preliminarily to proceed to issue one or more series of general obligation bonds of the school district capital projects, confirming the appointments of the financial advisor, bond counsel, authorizing proper officials of the school district, the solicitor, bond counsel, and financial advisor to take certain actions. That is per the attachment. Approve the long-term disability policy 3-year renewal through July 1, 2022 with National Insurance Services. Approve Denise Paris salary as Board of Secretary for the 1920 school year of $9,561. Approve Victor J. Orlando as the Assistant Secretary of the Board effective July 1, 2019 for a term ending June 30, 2020. Elect Christopher J. Stoffier as Board Treasurer for a 1-year term beginning July 1, 2019 and ending June 30, 2020. Set the bond for the Treasurer of the Board in the amount of $100,000 for the 1920 school year, and declare surplus equipment as surplus property, and authorize the disposition thereof.
Thank you, and on behalf of the board, I also want to thank the Lower Merion Volleyball Boosters, Tim Brockman, and the Gladwin Home and School Association I already said Gladwin, for their donations. We really appreciate it. I also want to point out that these were all just reviewed by the Purchasing and Facilities Committee that Mr. Driscoll just reported on, and that the bond discussion was presentation at the beginning of the meeting. So are there any questions at this time? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes.
Under the Facilities and Operations, I'd like to take items A through K. All these items, as noted in Mr. Driscoll's report, were reviewed and brought forward for approval. The administration recommends that Board of School Directors approve the following action items. Replace auto scrubbers, storm basin cleaning at Lower Merion High School, space modifications for enrollment growth at Kinwood Elementary, summer painting projects at Harrington High School, kitchen system inspections district-wide, fire alarm monitoring and sprinkler inspections district-wide, modifications to create makerspace at Gladwin Elementary, and 8 sound shells at Lower Merion High School. There are per the purchasing report. Approve the agreement with Rothman Orthopedics Institute for athletic trainer services at the high schools and middle schools for a fee of $215,148, plus fees for additional services when required, and that is according to the rates stated in the agreement for the 1920 school year, and that is subject to the solicitor's review. Approve the license agreement with Mainline School for a total fee of $24,750 payable to the district for both the fall and winter/spring semesters for the 1920 school year. Approve the transportation carrier agreements for the school year 1920 according to the fee schedule stated in the individual agreements. Approve the software support agreement with Orbit Software for renewal of Bus Boss software in the amount of $7,745. Approve the service agreements with Spiza Architectural Group, Inc. They are the Second Amendment for professional services for not to exceed amount of $570,000. The Third Amendment to the professional services for not to exceed amount of $235,000, and the Fourth Amendment for professional services for not to exceed amount of $3,000. Approve the proposal for professional services from Reynolds Construction LLC for not to exceed amount of $38,640. That is subject to the solicitor's review. And the First Amendment to professional service agreement with Reynolds Construction LLC for not to exceed amount of $154,360. Approve the professional service agreements with Chester Valley Engineers. There's an individual work order for professional services for not to exceed amount of $23,000. And the First Amendment to the initial work order for professional services not to exceed $12,000. We also have approved individual work orders from Traffic Planning and Design, Inc. That is for professional services to comply with the Lower Merion Township tentative sketch plan condition for approval for a master plan walkability study for not to exceed amount of $20,000. Professional services for study and designs for traffic improvements at Spring Mill Montgomery Avenue for not to exceed amount of $104,000. Approve the attached notification to extend the lease agreement with Mobile Lease Modular Space, Inc. at Ballackinwood Middle School for an additional 24 months at a rate of $9,619 per month, and approve the agreement with Hudson Analytics for security assessment services in the amount of $86,033.
Thank you, Mr. Orlando. Are there any questions?
I just have a quick comment, if I might, Dr. Gilbert. I just want to comment on the traffic planning and design issue. I'm going to vote yes to it, but I actually don't think it's an appropriate thing for the school district to undertake. And I just want to outline why I think that is. For the traffic study at Montgomery Avenue and Spring Mill, I'm confused to its necessity. My brief review of what's called the 2019 Capital Improvement Plan, or the CIP, from the township shows that this is not a priority project for them. There are approximately 18 projects slated for work through 2019-2024 CIP, and none of them are this intersection. The township is responsible for township-wide issues. I don't know why that intersection isn't on that. In comparison, there is an intersection project listed for Spring Mill Road and Conshohocken Road, yet that project is listed as a low priority C because the cost of $341,000 is much higher than the township is willing to spend alone. They are seeking grants and relief from PennDOT for requirements. So I'm trying to understand why this intersection, Montgomery Avenue and Spring Mill, is being singled out now. How does an intersection that's approximately a half mile away from the 1860 site become the school district's responsibility to evaluate? What private developers have built large retail and apartment complexes while bearing the cost of a traffic study and improvement plan almost a half mile away from their site? For the sidewalk study, I'm very concerned that this will be a report that will sit on the shelf. Very rough estimate by me seems to be that to build a complete and functioning sidewalk, and this is just me, around the proposed school will cost upwards of at least $3 million. For first, I would presume that the township should begin construction soon on such a network so it's completed by the fall of 2022, when the new school will open. To put this rough amount in perspective, the total CIP spend with capital improvement projects for 2020 and 2022 is projected to be approximately $34.9 million. To have a meaningful sidewalk network in time will require substantial reprioritization of the entire CIP budget by the township to fit this new sidewalk project that will consume approximately 9% of that budget. In short, I don't see this happening. So I see a report being written and the sidewalks not being built. Building sidewalks on the middle school facing streets of Saybrook, North Stone Ridge, and Montgomery will be sidewalks to nowhere. Unfortunately, we have experience with this. We have built sidewalks at Penn Valley and Welsh Valley along Haggis Ford Road almost 5 years ago. No additional sidewalks have been built in these areas. Additional sidewalks in these areas are also not in this CIP, so they're not even planned for the next 5 years by the township. We're building sidewalks to nowhere for a taxpayer expense, getting very little value. My last comment is I often hear the argument that, what does it matter? One taxing government over the other, what's the big deal? Probably from a dollars perspective, it may not matter much. But I would argue that from an accounting and a transparency perspective, I suggest it matters quite a bit. I believe that the BOC has rejected studies and projects because the cost was higher than they wished. They've done this at their own board meetings, but this is us, so that we have to do it. I do believe, though, if the township wants this stuff done, I would suggest that it's their burden to take it, since this is not on the school district property. I'm going to vote yes, but I don't think it's the appropriate thing for us to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll. Is there anyone who'd like to ask a question at this time? Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? The motion passes. At this time, we are going to have a report of the Policy Committee meeting by Ms. Robinson.
Thank you. The Policy Committee met on May 10th in this room. We received an update. The Policy Committee received an update regarding the progress the Strategic Planning Subcommittee has been making on Policy 235, Student Rights and Responsibilities. Additional information will be presented once the policy is ready for a first reading. Second readings. Policy in AR 705, Safety and Security. The purpose of this policy is to outline the board's commitment and multifaceted approach towards proactively ensuring the safety, security, and well-being of all district students, staff, and other stakeholders in the school community and property. The policy has been changed to incorporate information that was contained in other policies, which will be repealed but has not been changed since the first reading. Policies in AR 709, 710, 805, and 819 are all incorporated into this policy and therefore are up for repeal. 709 is building security, 710 is key control, 805 is emergency preparedness, and 819 is police school procedures. Policy in AR 246 were reviewed next. Formerly prohibited harassment by and of students is now called harassment, bullying, and hazing. This policy incorporates the contents of the other two policies into one, and we will be repealing the other two policies. No changes have been made to this policy since the first reading. So policy in AR 240, bullying, and policy in AR 261 are up for repeal. 261 is anti-hazing. Finally, we went over policy in AR 214, international exchange students, which is a new policy to incorporate the language and guidelines related to international exchange students who shall be admitted on a limited basis upon approval by the school board. All potential organizations or individuals applying for admission shall forward a formal request to the superintendent or designee by May 15th of the preceding school year. We went over two administrative regulations. Records management, AR 800, was brought forth to further detail and embellish the attachment A, records retention schedule. The policy and AR will be brought back in the fall for a more complete review. And AR 244, educational research, is being changed to reflect a carve-out of educational research, which is below that which needs a more robust review. Specifically, research for graduate course assignments may be eligible for an expedited review process, which would require a 30-day review rather than the more robust 60-day review process for all other requests. Details can be found in the AR. The meeting scheduled for May 31st has been canceled. As a result, the next policy committee meeting will be held on September 6, 2019. And happy summer, everyone.
Okay, we're not quite there yet, the policy committee maybe, but we're not quite there, just to let everyone know. So thank you for the report, and the following policies, as discussed by Ms. Robinson, were reviewed for a second reading. Policy 246, harassment, bullying, and hazing. Policy 705, safety and security. Policy 214, international exchange students, as well as a second repeal. Policy 249, bullying. Policy 261, anti-hazing. Policy 709, building security. Policy 710, key control. Policy 805, emergency preparedness. And Policy 819, police school procedures. So are there any questions at this time? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? The motion passes. At this time, we will have audience recognition on any item or any issue. If anyone would like to speak, please come sign in with Ms. LaPera. No? Okay. With that, we will hear, Ken, can you do the Sunshine Act for us, please?
Yes, there was one executive session since the last board meeting. It was last Monday, May 13th, regarding personnel. There actually was no executive session tonight. It was just information update.
Okay, thank you. And upcoming meeting dates, we have a regular business board meeting on June 10th, and we have a June 16th facilities and purchasing. What did I say, June?
16th.
I'm sorry, June 6th. Thank you for correcting me. Facilities and purchasing. And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.